Guys, welcome back for another week of Working Fans Wednesday. You got producer Joe, you got the man called Dave. We are joined by Josh DeBord this week, and you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. We're on the WorkingFansPodcast.com and alleverythingentertainment.com. We got the Working Fans Podcast Facebook page. Working Fans Wrestling Pod at gmail.com is the email. Instagram, Working Fans Wrestling _pod, the Patreon, patreon.com/Working Fans Podcast, our Twitch, Fans Working, and our podcast releases every Thursday morning on most podcast providers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If you can get podcast, you get us. Now we are brought to you by 482designs.com. If you've seen those nice shirts that we're wearing, not these quality Manscape shirts we're wearing right now, but the ones with our logo, that's by 482 Designs. That's FOUR82 Designs at gmail.com. We're brought to you by All Everything Entertainment, where you're seeing us right now. That's All Everything Entertainment on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're trying to look for them on Twitter, it's at AEEDOTCOM at AE.com. We are also brought to you by WrestleTopia on Facebook, at WrestleTopia on Twitter, WrestleTopiaTV.pivotshare.com, and Lance by Chance, Wrestling is a Von Erich, written by Lance Vaughn and Vinnie Berry. If you get this book, you can hear the story of how Kevin Vaughn became Lance Von Erich and worked as part of one of the most famous wrestling families in the world. Hear about how he got into the business, his experiences in places like Portland and Texas and beyond. This is not just a book about Lance Von Erich. It's about world class. Look for it on lancebychance.com. And now we've got perhaps our biggest sponsor, Manscaped. By now, we've all heard about Manscaped, but they are finally bringing their support to All Everything Entertainment. So go over to manscaped.com, use the promo code WFP2020, and get 20% off your order and free shipping. We couldn't be more than happy that they reached out to work with us. Now, guys, let's dig into the meat of the night. The PWI Women's Top 500 just came out recently. And have either of you guys seen it yet?
Not really. You showed me some stuff beforehand.
Now, what do you think of that top 10 list?
You know that.
We were just talking about this top 10 list off the air. And what do you guys think about? I'm going to read the top 10, then we'll get some opinions. Bayley is number 1. Becky Lynch is number 2. Asuka is number 3. Charlotte Flair is number 4. Sasha Banks is number 5. Hikaru Shida is number 6. Tessa, get ready, Randy, is number 7. 8 is Riho. 9 is Io Shirai. And 10 is Mayu Iwatani.
Bayley, definitely number 1. There's no issue there. She really turned her whole career around. I mean, she had a great just babyface run in the beginning of her career, and she has really showed what she can do as a heel now. And she's definitely been, along with Sasha, one of the hottest act on SmackDown. And for a while, the hottest act in WWE, period, I would say, until Roman recently showed up with his new heel act. So
yeah, 100%. Josh, what do you think about that top 10 list right there?
I'm pleasantly surprised they had Bayley at 1, because my experience with women wrestling is it's always Charlotte than everybody else. So it's kind of nice that they actually showed Bayley the respect she deserves after this hell of a year she's had, which when she's turned heel, I didn't buy it at all. Like, it was a very cool way she turned heel. She cut down those tube men, the way she turned on Sasha. But, like, she had a great year because, like, I think we might talk about it a little bit later. But, like, you talk about the top tag teams of the year. They're my number one as well. They were the most entertaining thing in wrestling for me for a good 5 or 6 months this year. Them together as a team, then that tease, when are they going to split? And they were involved in the women's title pictures at the same time as well. So no issues really with Bayley. Becky at 2, you can't go wrong. My only issue, I guess, would be she wrestled for like 2 months. So if it's based on this year, I mean, she hasn't had a match this year that gets her up to number 2. But no real issues with the list. I'm just glad Charlotte's not up there. That's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you look at like the beginning of like the year and a little bit of last year, I would have thought 2 people that could have been on it, but they kind of cooled down the beginning of this year was Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley, because they started off. Shayna was such a dominant champion at one point, probably the most dominant women's champion, maybe even the most dominant champion in WWE, what she was doing down in NXT, and then Ripley comes out of nowhere. Talk about someone who was probably hurt due to lack of crowds. She was so on fire in the beginning. She's got everybody behind her, and then they bring her to WrestleMania. She's going to take on Charlotte and defend the NXT title at WrestleMania against Charlotte. But then COVID happened. Right. Charlotte ends up getting
That's my issue. Ripley should be in the top 10 still. That's one person that Joe didn't say. I haven't saw the list, but if she's not top 10, I'd have an issue with that. Mm-hmm. Where did Sasha come in at?
Sasha, let me see if I got her on this list.
Had to be at least top 5, I would hope.
Yeah, if Sasha's not top 5.
Yeah, Sasha was 5. Okay. Rhea Ripley is 11. And Shayna Baszler is 13.
Okay, so right there. Yeah.
Nikki Cross at 20. Alexa Bliss, I found the top 20. Alexa's not on here. That's an issue for me as well, but I digress. Maybe it's not her wrestling because she's doing a lot of she's not really been wrestling so much as being the Fiend's Harley Quinn, but it's not a bad top 10. Just a few things.
It's a good character year for Alexa. She's definitely gotten more diverse in a lot of stuff she's doing.
Now, their list is weird because it runs from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020, which has always been kind of the sticking. It's just weird for me PWI wise because they have this time frame and then they release the list like another quarter after that. So you're trying to remember, like, what did they do within this year? Yeah.
I was going to say, because if it's from January to now, what did Becky do except wrestle for 2 months, then end up pregnant, So her 2 makes more sense with that time frame. It's not a bad list. It honestly isn't. Rio, I think, is a little too high, but I'm not a big fan of hers personally. I think Io could be a little higher. It's not bad. I've seen a lot worse. The tag team list I saw today was a lot worse.
Oh, yeah. Before we get to that tag team list, we got a man sitting in the backstage area. He's chomping at the bit. And AJ, I got to admit, hold on, let me get him in here. I got to admit, AJ, I forgot that code. I forgot that website. Can you remind me? You know what the pre-show.
You forgot the most important code in the history of mankind. The one that makes us look the way we need to for our lady friends, guys. It's WFP 2020. You go to manscaped.com and you're going to save 20% on products that will keep you looking so sweet, guys. I'm talking about keeping your tag team partner from looking like one of the bushwhackers going into parts unknown. You want to keep those family jewels looking the way that only Manscaped can make them look like a world champ. WFP 2020. Woo!
That was beautiful. That was the best run-in in the business right there. And now getting back to the PWI list real quick. This is something that me and Dave are going to take up with AJ at another time. But I never realized this might be the first year that they did it, that they included females on the top 500 list.
I mean,
rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ones they have, Kylie Ray comes in at 78. Tessa Blanchard comes in at 85. Alley Cat comes in at 110. Faye Jackson at 160. And that's that's the top 4. And Trish Adora at 173.
Yeah.
So I almost expected maybe the top 10 out of the ladies list to make it in there, but it was a different kind of mix they had.
That's strange. It doesn't really add up to me.
There's no standardization, I think's the word. So like it makes the other top 10 lists seem irrelevant.
Yeah, and it's weird because I looked to see what they based each list on, and not to get too nerdy here, but the top 500, it's ranked based on win-loss record, technical ability, influence on the sport, success against the highest grade of competition, success against the most diverse competition, and activity.
I don't want to shit on him, but it doesn't make any sense. I don't
So
no
why-
offense to Faye Jackson, who I believe, talk about nerdy, I think she was on NWA Power. She might be the girl from Alaska. I could be wrong about that. But other than that, and I could be wrong, I don't really know who she is. But Charlotte, who we picked on earlier, but Sasha,
Yeah.
Ripley,
Bailey.
None of those people make the list.
That's
Influence,
interesting.
ability?
Well, hold on. Listen to how they judge the women's top 100. And it's a totally different set of standards. It's championships won, quality of opposition, technical proficiency, win-loss records, overall activity, and then momentum/promotional push. So it's weird. It's almost like they're judging on 2 different scales for these lists.
Yeah. Or somebody realized this didn't make any sense, so we better at least change up how we say we judge.
Yeah, we have to validate what we put out here. We have to find a way to make it work. It's interesting. Not the way I would do it, but I mean, they can do whatever the hell they want, I guess.
In the future, maybe enough people will say something. I mean, because I think put them all together. Why not?
I would.
Yeah.
I think they're scared that number 1 would probably be Bailey and John Mox. They probably scared a woman would be number 1, and they can't have that, right? Because that's still frowned upon for some reason. Because I think Bailey's been a lot better than John Moxley. That's just me. John Moxley puts me to sleep anymore.
He's been big, but I mean, Bailey's just been so much bigger. And she had that tag team storyline she's been going through. She's had the championship forever. So she was in a good spot.
Yep, and it's not over. I can't wait for her and Sasha. They're going to do it at a bigger stage. I feel like Bailey's winning the Women's Royal Rumble, and they're going to do it at Mania.
Yeah, this is off topic. I know Jordan has a plan, but I'm just curious. What do you think about potential opponents for Roman at Mania besides The Rock? We hope it's The Rock, but
It better be The Rock.
Yeah.
Or Brock.
Brock would be interesting. Yeah, Brock's
that's true.
interesting.
Brock, Big E, Brock or Big E, or The Rock would be the 3.
Felt like they were setting a little. Well, I mean, to have the match of Survivor Series with him and Drew. It'd be interesting to see if that's a.
Yeah, he's going to feud with Bryan reportedly after Survivor Series because they did the angle where Uso took him out, and that'll take him to Rumble, which I don't know how they'd integrate The Rock, but Big E is the favorite right now to win the Royal Rumble, so we'll see what happens.
I'd like to see that. Like Big
Wow,
E.
the Rumble's going to be something interesting in the Thunderdome.
Yeah, and Tropicana Field, as our Tyler Peters reported earlier, looks like that's where they're moving to. They're going to be in a baseball stadium.
Now, since they're doing the cinematic matches more now, is that a chance to get The Rock in there if you can do a cinematic match and maybe get closer to meeting his acting responsibilities, lessen what he could be hurt on?
Not a bad idea. I just kind of always pictured it being a regular match, but if that was an issue, that might be something they could get around with the proper story and something like that. I don't know what they would do, but I'd be interested in seeing it either way. I prefer a regular match.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I want fans. They're saying that they're planning to have fans at the Rumble. How many? They don't know because it's in Florida and they're kind of opening everything up down there regardless of what else is going on around the world. So because they want the fans to be there for the countdown and the surprise entrance and all that stuff, which makes sense. So I feel like the Rock would want a crowd. The Rock wouldn't want to come out to an empty stadium or do a backstage thing. So I feel like it'd be a regular match. And I feel like if there's no fans, I don't think The Rock and him do it this year. They might push it to SummerSlam. They drag this tribal chief thing on for a while. He just runs through the roster until SummerSlam. Or I'd bring Brock back.
You talk about a performer too that always fed off the crowd, The Rock. That is very interesting. Like it is kind of hard to picture The Rock without a crowd of all people.
Yeah, like Cena and Bray, everybody was like, Cena without a crowd, it's like, I don't have to hear Cena sucks for 20 minutes. Like, I can actually pay attention to what he's doing because Cena's kind of a bit much because no matter what he's doing, good or bad, Cena sucks. Like, okay, you're kind of taken away. Sometimes the crowd's ignorant and takes away from the quality of the match, which, like, for Uso, I don't think the crowd would be into it. Like, I feel like Jey Uso is really hot right now because there is no crowd and it makes it a lot better because I feel like the crowd would already be over it because as wrestling fans, we're impatient.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and that's an interesting point too, right? Because especially if you go back to that Hell in a Cell match, very story-driven. Their mic even particularly louder, so we can hear all the talking and everything going on. And to their credit, they're doing awesome with it. But yeah, maybe with a crowd, that might have been a little more of an issue. It's an interesting take.
We want storytelling until we get it, then we bitch about it. That's how it works every time.
I saw someone say something about too that at least for more main roster WWE, someone at this point that we don't want a white meat top popular babyface until we get it. Then we get it and we're like, boo, this guy sucks. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly how it goes.
Now, Josh, are you familiar with our signature segment, the 5-3-1?
I am.
So we're going to do a special live one. It's kind of ironic because AJ pushed for this segment, much like the PWI one, and he is not here for it. But we're going to talk the top 5 best second-generation wrestlers. We're hoping to get some comments on this one because usually when we put this out to the people, we get a good amount of lists on it. Now, Dave, who do you have for a top 5?
I want to ask you real quick, too. Now, are we talking second-generation wrestlers, like to the core? Like, we're going to go right, dot our I's, cross our T's, or can it be multi-generation wrestlers?
It's probably going to be multi-generations because if I read Josh's text earlier or a message earlier about it, you said it's Orton all day, right?
So that'd be a third. Right. Okay, so multi-generation wrestler. So in that case, I will have to have The Rock on my list. To me, I mean, he's the biggest name ever. Okay, so, but I'm not saying he's number one. I want to throw a couple names out there. I thought a little more old school about this. Bret Hart, I want to put on my list. Obviously, second generation wrestler. His father, Stu, ran the Calgary territory for many years. To me, great babyface, worked his way up and heel, as a tag team wrestler, the Hart Foundation, and then that Intercontinental title run, his classic matches with Perfect, Bulldog, so many good Intercontinental, Roddy Piper, WrestleMania 8, and then we go on to his world title legacy. And at one point, I thought one of my favorite angles of all time when he was getting booed everywhere in the U.S., but absolutely cheered in Canada and Europe. Definitely my favorite. So Bret's in my list. The Rock's on my list. I also want to put in Ted DiBiase because he was the second generation as well, because I think the $1 Million Man is one of the best heel characters of all time. I want to throw in there Jake the Snake Roberts because I believe his father, Grizzly Smith, was also a wrestler. I don't think he was father of the year, but he had a stretch if you hear those stories about
He definitely wasn't.
But he did give birth to Jake. He helped. He was the dad of Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake the Snake is one of the great interviews and great wrestlers of all time. So, Jake, and this one, a special for our special guest, Josh. I think he'd like this one. I'm going to throw Cody Rhodes in there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I could have went Dustin.
Boy.
But we'll go Cody to wrap it up, number 5.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, man, Josh. I'm just going to get to my list then so we can get this disappointment over quick. I got Kurt Hennig.
Oh, that's good.
Because he's perfect. Bret Hart. I had to cross off Bob Orton Jr. on my list, and I put on Bret Hart because I couldn't believe I forgot him. I put Ricky Morton on my list because his dad, Paul Morton, was a wrestler, but Ricky obviously did so much more. I got to go Cody Rhodes just because of the success he has. Like, I could put Dustin Rhodes, but if you put Dustin, somebody's going to be like, oh, you think Dustin's better than Cody? So that's kind of where I felt on that. And then I picked Terry Funk because you're going to run into the same problem where are you going to pick Dory Funk Jr. and have people go, what the fuck? I know AJ's sitting in his car right now, like Dory Funk 100%, but you got to go Terry.
No, I actually wish I picked Terry. Terry's one of my favorites in that 89, 90 era. Really got me back into wrestling. So, all right.
AJ's sitting in his car right now like Cody Rhodes. What the hell? Really? That's what he's saying.
So who do you have for a list for us?
Not Cody.
All right, so 1 to 5. Randy, Rock, Bret, Savage, and Henning.
Okay.
Ooh, I forgot Savage. Jeez.
Right, yeah. But we all have Bret on our list.
Yeah, and Eddie was second generation too. He was hard to keep off. So like that's why I say Cody, because like you got Mysterio, you got Owen Hart. I mean, there's a lot of guys that Cody couldn't dust their boots, dude. Like
I am a Cody. I think Cody's a great interview. However, you did say a name there, and I'm not talking about Owen. Owen's one of the greats too. Owen's life got cut short, but
I forgot about Owen, honestly.
Yeah, but he said another name in there that I'm a little mad. Much like I was mad I didn't put Terry Funk, Eddie Guerrero. I'm a big mark for the belt, right? The amount of times you won a belt, the long range. I would say if there's one guy for me that kind of transcends that, because his life got taken away, if you just look at the work in the ring, bell to bell, personality-wise, Eddie Guerrero is that guy. And, for all the hardcore fans who say maybe certain wrestlers kind of like, didn't elevate their game when they got to WWE, they went down a little bit. Eddie was phenomenal in WCW. He was phenomenal in a little event called, I want to say it was Worlds Collide. It's a Mexican pay-per-view, AAA back in the era. A lot of people saw him. He was phenomenal in ECW. And then when he went to WWE, he was still all that. And then his character just became that much more. So damn it all, man, for you mentioning Eddie Guerrero. I wish I had Eddie on that list.
Dude, there's a lot. I looked at a top 20 after Joe asked me to come on, and I was like, I have to pick 5? And then I'm like, Orton might not be my one, but I already put it out there, so I'm going to defend it, because I think by the time it's all said and done, he will be one of the Mount Rushmore guys, especially as great as he is right now. He might be the best he's ever been right now. So it's hard, man. It's hard to only pick 5.
Yeah, and that's always the thing about this list is you're going to pick 5. You're always going to leave somebody out. And that's kind of where things come in for discussion, because this is the exact way we did it when we started at Dave's kitchen table a year ago. It was just me, him, and AJ sitting around with lists. And what was the one that got the first fight between us? Was it Best Big Men?
Actually, it was Best Talker. We were talking about Best Interviews. And not Cody, but I was fighting for Dusty Rhodes to be in the final 3. And again, we're talking Ray Talkers. You weren't dismissing it, but you had like Jake the Snake Roberts. I think maybe we'll say Ted DiBiase, and it was just conversation. And I was like, man, maybe it's just because I grew up on that era, but Dusty had to be in that list for me. Yeah.
And then, Josh, we're going to get your quick opinion on something. Who do you think's the best masked wrestler of all time?
Oh, no.
Kane.
Oh, you're the man.
Fuck that. He came up on our list, and it was a week that I wasn't there, and I'm like, best masked wrestler of all time? Fuck that. You got Hayabusa. You got Sasuke. You got Liger. If the first 2 are bullshit, Liger's huge.
I'd be Kane,
Yes.
Mankind, and Mysterio.
Okay. I had Mysterio, and we had Kane as the winner. I don't know if we had Mankind. Mankind's a good one, though.
Does he count? I mean, he wore a mask sometimes when he played that character. I guess he technically would count.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that's part of the fun of the 5-3-1 is the discussion. You'll have something that might be a mask. Dave won't be surprised, but I don't remember who we had on that list. I just remember Kane won, and I was like, ooh, geez, I'm never sitting out another 5-3-1.
Yeah, you know what? Then you said Kane, which I thought, oh, man, I'm a man tonight. But one of the things we do on the 5-3-1 now, when we want to get it down to the final couple, usually we'll look at a list and we'll see who made multiple lists. So one name that stuck out already is Bret Hart.
Bret
Hart made multiples.
Yeah.
I mean, Cody Rhodes was on 2 of our lists. The Rock was on
The Rock. So The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Bret Hart.
We're going to take Cody out of there just because I want to keep our guest happy. And when you look between The Rock and Bret Hart, it's ridiculous.
Listen, just think about it. We're breaking down who's the best. Cody Rhodes against The Rock against something's wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I do like
that neck tattoo can't win. That shit's going to be on a Mount Rushmore one day, just that tattoo on the end.
Hey, Chuck. Chuck's watching. Hey, Chuck, who's better? The Rock? Who's the better second-generation wrestler? The Rock? Shut up, Chuck. He's second. The Rock, Bret Hart, or Cody Rhodes? If you say Cody, I'm going to kick your ass tomorrow when I come over for RSH.
Oh, man. I'm not calling David. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
You have to be nice to Chuck. He's having lucid dreams now after he interviewed that woman yesterday.
Oh, I saw that. I actually stumbled upon that yesterday. That's pretty good. Yeah, all right. So why don't we put in let's see. I mean, all right, Orton, DiBiase, and Terry Funk. Yeah, I want to throw Eddie in there, but technically we didn't put him on the list. So
yeah, he was my 6.
You were 6, yeah. So I say out of Ted DiBiase, Terry Funk, and Orton. Orton is probably going to go on to be there. Right now, man, I really lean towards Terry just because if you go back to those 80s WWF days, he was on the second WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan. Then he would go on to be just an icon in the NWA WCW era with that I Quit match with Ric Flair and the Great American Bash. And then you have his actual another third, fourth run, whatever it was in ECW, where Terry starts moonsaulting on the chairs, and then he's in the Attitude Era. Plus, he's an old school NWA guy from the 70s. He had the world title, so I feel like he should be on that list too.
Chuck, Google says he's second. Google, Chuck. Google wins. Sorry.
Now, Dave, I don't remember shit. I don't remember who we had on that.
So we got Bret, we got Funk, and we got we had Ted. I think we're just gonna knock Ted off.
Okay, yeah. So we're down to. Weren't we just down to what was it? Bret and fucking what's his name?
Terry Funk.
Yes.
Oh, The Rock. No, The Rock was on.
Yeah, Bret and The Rock. Sorry.
So that's right.
I'm already forgetting.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I would have to, as much as I fought for him, and then I would have to knock out Terry because to me it's got to be down to Bret and The Rock.
Yeah.
So
now,
I'll let Josh weigh in on this actually, since I'm
let's give Josh the deciding vote because
Bret or The Rock.
Yeah.
What do you prefer? I guess.
I can't say much because I'm trying to get Bret in for an interview, so I don't want to bury the guy.
God bless you. I'll be so jealous.
I can't stand The Rock, so I'm going Bret because the difference between Bret and The Rock is Bret did his whole career in the WWF and he went beginning to end. The Rock pussed out for Hollywood 10 years in when he got a taste of it and made a terrible Scorpion King movie that was awful, by the way. Then he ran off. Bret Hart stuck it all the way through. And some of the most iconic things are Bret Hart.
Yeah.
The Bret screwed Bret thing, right? Stands out right away.
Mm-hmm.
All the classic matches back in the day. Hogan. I mean, hell, even when he came back in that terrible Nexus storyline, which wasn't his fault at all, you get what creative gives you. I was popping for Bret Hart, even though he was older and not obviously nowhere near he was in the ring. Yeah. So I would go Bret Hart due to the longevity, and he was a better wrestler for sure. The Rock was better on the mic. I mean, The Rock was a better entertainer, but he fits this more WWE lifestyle than Bret Hart would. So I would go Bret Hart.
It's funny. I think we're just saying SummerSlam 91, Bret Mr. Perfect. SummerSlam 92, Bret Bulldog. Yep. WrestleMania 13, Bret Austin, I Quit match. It's not even really thinking. I could think of those classic matches. With The Rock, he's had some good matches. Austin was his main rivalry, and maybe H.
Rock, Austin, Hogan, and Cena come to mind.
Yeah. But when you think about just bell to bell,
Yeah.
That's
Well, like
not
Rock
many can touch
Cena,
Bret.
Rock Austin, and Rock Hogan were not classic wrestling matches by
No.
any means necessary. They were good stories and they had star power.
Right.
Bret was star power and they could flat out go.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I would give it to Bret. I'm biased too. Bret was my boy. Like, so little background. So on my fandom, like I was a Hogan guy early on, but I got a little bored with that. It got a little stale for me. And watching Bret Hart and the Intercontinental title run that he had after that hooked me back into wrestling. And then Bret eventually winning the world title, seeing that wrestlers can go from a tag wrestler to the Intercontinental to the world title, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm in again. And so Bret's my guy. So no arguments here.
Yeah, I really can't argue because both Bret and Owen, both good second generation wrestlers. And that says a lot to what, I mean, that's a testament to Stu, right? Because, I mean, he had 10 kids?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had a couple that got to the highest level and then a couple that, you know, were really the cornerstone of his Stampede Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, I'm biased as well. I got to meet Owen. Man, I forget how long. The unfortunate passing of him happened like a week after that pay-per-view because when I was younger, there. Well, hell, 5 years ago, pay-per-views were $50 or something, $60, and they went down to 40. They bounced around. I couldn't afford that when I was younger. So for my birthday, my mom was like, "We're going to get you." I forget what it was. Maybe Judgment Day, I think, was the pay-per-view or something that he died at.
Oh,
and we got
the
it. Yeah, that. So like we got that, and that happened. I was like, "Holy shit! I just got this guy's autograph at the Town Mall in Middletown, Ohio." Like I had me, my dad, and my mom got his autograph. Him, Deborah, and Jeff Jarrett were there because they were running together at that point.
Right.
And I met them all, shook their hands, got a hug from all of them, pictures, everything. They're at home in my dad's closet. And they saved because one day, hell, that Owen Hart autograph might be worth some money. But like I met him, and then however many days later, it's like, holy shit, I just met this guy. So that was kind of crazy. And I'm a young kid, and I was like, I don't know if I like wrestling anymore. And then Vince did the show must go on. And I was like, I think Vince is an absolute dick. But now that I'm older, it's like I get it. The show goes on. It is what it is. But, yeah, so a little biased as well. But it's Bret Hart. You can't go wrong with Bret Hart.
Oh, 100%. So Bret's going to win the list this week. And, AJ, whenever you hear this, if you hear this, let us know who your number one is.
His number one's probably Cody.
Now, Dave, you know me. I forget a lot of shit. What was that thing you're sponsoring again?
They're talking about Manscape, baby. You're talking about WFP 2020. All right, we got some of those great Manscaped products right here too, like the.
What are you looking at on your shelf right there? What do you got in front of you? What'd you buy?
Don't worry what I'm doing. Just remember. WPF 2020. Right?
WFP 2020. Right. You already fucked it up.
You rattled me.
All right. And let's get on to the headliner of the night because tonight, as always on Wednesday nights, we have AEW NXT. Hold on. Calling an audible.
MLW starts tonight, Major League Wrestling. Josh, I know you don't watch a lot of indies. Have you heard of Major League Wrestling?
I've heard of it.
Okay. I would just let you know there's a couple guys on there like tonight. Harry Smith, formerly David Hart Smith.
Yep.
He's wrestling Jacob Fatu of the Anoy family, son of Sam Fatu. His cousin.
He was backstage in WWE a couple times, right?
He might have been. I might have been.
I think they did some backstage stuff with him.
I'm
aware of who. No, Fatu.
Oh.
Yeah. But he's basically the spitting image of Umaga. Like he's out there doing moonsaulty stuff. Brian Pillman Jr. is on the show tonight versus Myron Reed, middleweight title. It's a fun 1 hour program that I found on YouTube that kind of got me into watching some stuff. They're not like other indie wrestling. They have a blend. There's a lot of power wrestling. There's a few. They'll have some luchadors, but they'll also have like some MMA style. It's called Fusion because they try to blend in everything. It's 1 hour. Check it out if you get a chance. That's my recommendation of the week. Joe, hit it, baby.
Yeah, like tonight, their lineup, as he said, Fatu versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. for the heavyweight title, Myron Reed versus Brian Pillman Jr. for the middleweight title, You got Hammerstone's going to appear. Kevin Von Erich is going to share a secret about the origins of World Class with his sons, who are the
Kevin's
tag
gonna
team champions. And the 2020 Opera Cup brackets are going to be revealed. The Opera Cup was something that was in the Hart family that debuted last December in MLW.
Yeah, they used to be in opera houses. They would have little like wrestling shows that would go on, and they had like little tournaments. I had no idea about this until MLW brought it back. Harry Smith helped bring it back too.
Yeah, and I believe he won it last year, right?
He did, yes. So
now tonight, NXT has not a whole lot listed. They've got Finn Balor's coming out to address what's next.
yes,
And we've got Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley.
yeah. So it was just announced too that after the crazy upset of last week, Leon Ruff is already defending his title against Johnny Gargano.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so he's losing that title tonight.
I don't think so. I think there's got to be a story that's going to be told. There.
Damian Priest is going to be lurking.
Yeah. Something has to happen. There has to be a story that has to be told there. I'm curious to see where they go with Finn. I'm assuming we're going to set up his next challenger. I mean, he is coming back from a broken jaw in 2 places, so let's see what this man has to say. And as far as Ripley and Io Shirai go, Joe, a little enthusiasm, man. This is a hell of a women's match. Like I'm excited.
He says NXT don't have much. Like I'm partially helping watch the NBA draft and go to alleverythingentertainment.com and follow us on there. We're updating our article all night long as these trades happen. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have Ripley and Io's the match of the night for me. Dude, this is a takeover Big Four pay-per-view kind of match, and I feel like this is Rhea's farewell as well, because I think Io goes over and Rhea just does the job, because there's no reason to put the strap on her again. She needs to do the job. I think at Rumble, Rhea goes to the main roster anyway. So
you know what? Maybe the story is there too. I don't know if Charlotte's on her way back. Maybe Rhea's going to get her revenge at this year's WrestleMania, and they set up the story there long term.
I feel like Rhea's going to throw her out of the Rumble.
Interesting.
And Pat McAfee, how could you just overlook Pat McAfee's been money on Wednesdays too. He's going to be there with his guys. So, and we're waiting for the Undisputed Era to return. When they do, that's going to be crazy, because it's going to be those 4. That should be a War Games kind of match. If they don't do that, they're missing an opportunity.
I was going to say, isn't War Games supposed to be coming up? Traditionally, it was run on Survivor Series weekend, and it's not happening this Saturday. Will it be the early December takeover?
I think so. That's the reports.
You got Lorcan and Birch, who are just 2 solid, hard-nosed wrestlers who now have the personality with Pat McAfee.
Yeah,
now, Pete Dunne never really had the personality. He played off well off of Riddle. Pete Dunne is such a phenomenal wrestler and so intense that, to me, he kind of transcends that anyway. He's just got a natural charisma and intensity about him. So, yeah, I love this group. Pat McAfee, I think you could put that guy anywhere, and he's going to be money, because he's, to me, kind of an old-school talker. He doesn't sound rehearsed. He sounds like everything's just, he's coming up with on the fly. And he's just like talking shit to the fans that are there, and he's making it work. So
also announced Grimes, Loomis blindfold match.
Interesting. I don't know.
Because the thing last week where he put the bag on his head or whatever, that Grimes can kick his ass as long as he don't have to look into his eyes. Listen, Cameron Grimes has been like a breakout star for me the last 4 or 5 months. He's fantastic, and I love Dexter Loomis. He has this weird. I don't know what to compare him to. I don't think there is one for me to compare him to. He's a big dude that can work. Obviously, he got hurt trying to do a damn senton, which he should stop trying to do. Guys that size should not do sentons and flips over the ropes, unless you're Roman, because he can do it. But NXT is pretty stacked. I'm pretty excited for it. I have no idea what's on AEW tonight, though. I have yet to watch last week.
Wow. Well, I will let you know what's on AEW, because it's the in-ring return of Pac. He's taking on the Blade. My match of the night, Serena Deeb versus Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's Championship. Josh, you're going to be excited about this. It's Cody teaming with Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. We've got the Moxley Omega contract signing. The Inner Circle goes to Vegas.
That'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun for sure.
And we got the Young Bucks versus Top Flight. That is the Airwolf that had been in MLW for a little bit, and his twin brother.
Oh, the guy with the mask? Joe? The guy with the mask?
Yeah, he had a mask at one point.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Those kids get a shot. It's funny. I would say the inner circle thing is probably what I'm looking forward to most out of
same.
that. I am looking forward to Pac coming back. I'm a big Pac guy.
California Love, man. You had that album.
Yeah.
All Eyes on Me.
All the time, Tupac, baby. It is interesting, and I'm not even doing this to take a shot at AEW actually, but it is interesting that the best women's wrestling going on right now in AEW is they're pulling from the NWA.
Dude, I was going to say the same thing. I was going to be like, I agree with Joe. Like, women's wrestling rules tonight between Ripley and Io and these two. But, like, I was about to say AEW's got a women's division, but I'm like, wait, they don't even technically – these aren't even their people, are they? Like, I think Serena might have been signed. Like, Thunder Rosa is kind of bouncing around. Thunder Rosa is amazing. Like, when they do a top 100 list next year, I think she's going to be top 5.
Yeah.
But that should be really good. But, dude, their women's divisions, I can't believe they have a video game in production before they have a women's division established. That just blows my mind, but whatever. That should be a really, really good match. I could care less about Cody and Darby. I'm over it already. So over it. When he said that when he came out a couple weeks ago and said that he took on the Empire and won, I was just even more – what did he win? Like, Vince, I mean, WWE's worth more money they've ever been worth. Like, they're growing and growing. Like, what did Cody win? I mean, his company didn't go under in a year. I guess that's a win. But, like, is
it just because he got his name? Is that what he won? Is the Rhodes name?
How pathetic do you have to be to lose your name in the first place?
Exactly.
I'm just asking because, like, I was listening to Busted Open the other day, and they were talking about the Zelina Vega thing, and Bully Ray was like, well, WWE will only, trademark what they give you. If Cody Rhodes is his name, Bully Ray said that in his experience with their contracts and stuff, they own their own, like, their God-given name, like John Cena. That's his real name. WWE don't own that. He can use that wherever. Cody Rhodes' his real name. How the hell did he lose it in the first place? Because I'll just take it from Bully's experience over mine because I have no idea. So how did he lose it? I'm just curious.
Is it maybe because he spent his whole time before he got out of WWE, like that was his wrestling experience? So maybe since that was kind of where the first use occurred, it also fell under that umbrella, and maybe he just didn't think to trademark it. Or
it's interesting, right? Because if you think about it like that, Dustin came into WWE as Dustin. I mean, he came as Gold Dust, but he was Dusty Rhodes prior. Dusty Rhodes was clearly Dusty Rhodes. That's from another era completely. So yeah, Cody did kind of come under that umbrella, and maybe nobody wised him up. Maybe because if you think about it, Dusty and Vince, whether it's good or bad, they go back a long ways. Maybe nobody thought wise up Cody. To me, honestly, if I had to guess, just my experience, not in wrestling business, but just in management and dealing with people, probably communication. Because I saw some interviews where Cody talked afterwards where he felt like he didn't have to ask for that name. Where it's like, well, technically, if it's not really your name, your last name's Runnels, and all you had to really probably do was have a conversation, given the history with Vince and Dusty, my guess is this probably could have been solved a lot sooner.
Well, Dustin didn't have that issue. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's weird. Like, Dustin got to take his. So why didn't – that's why I make the joke. Like, what did you do to lose your own name? Because WWE does not trade – like, they don't trademark your birth name. They can't take it. Like, it's illegal. But, like, how did he lose it? Did he – I don't know if – like, did he sign it over at some point? And then when he left, he thought, oh, they're going to give it back. If that's the case, he's a jackass because why would you give it back? Like, I feel like he should be grateful Vince gave up the whole lawsuit thing because he could have tied that up in court for as long as he wanted to.
I think what happened, too, was they kind of mutually agreed because I think Cody was going after, like, things like the Match Beyond.
Yeah, he went after a lot of WCW stuff.
Right.
Yeah, he did hit a lot of those trademarks.
And so what really had to happen, and I think Cody did say this out of not – now, it's one thing he talks about in a promo in wrestling, but I think out of it, he did say on a media call that he couldn't go into everything about it, but he said it was a very pleasant discussion on both sides. So my guess is, once again, you probably just had to have that discussion, had to go face to face You know.
But if it's so pleasant, I hope that wouldn't be the reason that he thinks he beat the Empire.
I think that's hyperbole. I think
That's very
come on,
lame.
man.
I mean, to get those 19 fans in attendance fired up, you don't have to go like chill out. Like they're gonna cheer whatever. Those people are like robots. They'll cheer
I
for
see where he's
shit.
going a little bit. I know because like you said this one last time on the show. You're not a big fan of like wrestling promotions talking shit to other wrestling.
No, I don't like it because
Yeah.
they said we're not going to be like them, yet they do the same shit, and then they talk shit about them for doing the same shit that they're doing. Like what I just said makes no sense. That's what I feel like I'm watching with AEW because we're not going to do this. We're going to build a women's division. Still waiting. We're not going to push WWE guys. Where's all their titles at right now? I mean, granted, the Bucks just got it, but FTR had it. Cody had the TNT title for how long? Then Brody Lee had it. Moxley had it. Jericho had it. They're doing everything they said they weren't going to do. Then burying young talent. I wouldn't say Cassidy's buried, but why did he go over Jericho for? To be on the pre-show of an AEW pay-per-view. That's exactly what WWE does. That's typical shit. You put him over your biggest star, which is still Chris Jericho, and then now he's fighting a random Dark Circle or Dark Order member on a pre-show. Like, why did you just wasted it? You really wasted Orange Cassidy.
Let me ask you something, because I mean, you do follow the product at least, obviously.
I follow it.
Who would you be, in your opinion? Give me 3 guys you feel have the most potential. That maybe they're not delivering on right now, maybe they are, but
3 guys. MJF's number 1.
Sure.
Shit. Cassidy is he's just unique. If he were in WWE, everybody thinks it wouldn't work. He would sell. Look what they do with R-Truth. Orange Cassidy's R-Truth times 10. And he can like R-Truth can wrestle, but Cassidy can go, and you can sell some stuff on him. Look at all the people that dressed up during Halloween for him. And I like Darby Allin a lot. He has that Jeff Hardy thing, and they did just put the belt on him, so let's see what happens. The poor guy always gets hurt. I heard an interview with him the other day where he said, I'm not toning down my style. If I wrestle 4 years, I wrestle 4 years. That might be his downfall. But those would be the 3 guys. I want them to focus more on their guys, not John Moxley and whatever the fuck they're doing with Miro, because that's terrible. I don't want to see Kip Sabian. I don't want to see all these idiots they have. I don't want to see Eddie Kingston do anything. He can talk. A lot of people can talk. Eddie Kingston, you've seen his beer gut in the match with Moxley. He quit because he was out of energy. Like, I follow it enough to know what's going on. I'm not spending $50 on a pay-per-view for them. But they just need to focus. MJF's their cat. He's money. And that's why I think the Inner Circle thing's the most interesting thing they have going on because of him and Wardlow being in it now.
I would want to add one thing to that, too. I said earlier in the beginning of this, too, a person who was hurt by the crowd was Rhea Ripley because she was getting such ovations. We're going to throw Orange Cassidy on that list, too, because if there was still crowds to react to him, talk about an act that would really...
Him going over Jericho, oh, my God, that would have got like one of those things where it's like, is my TV shaking or is that like live? Like with Drew, I think Drew got screwed with no crowds, too, because he won the title twice now with no crowd, and he would have got a huge pop.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'll probably check it out. I won't watch last week. I ain't going to lie. I could care less about that pay-per-view. I thought was pretty bad. But I have hopes for Omega. I hate Omega, but I hate what they've done to him because when he came in, he was supposed to be the top guy. I haven't seen them book him that way. Maybe it's by design. He has to take the strap off Moxley, though.
Yeah, that's a good I think that's going to be the move at Revolutions.
When is that?
That is January at some point. I'm not sure the exact date.
It says right here they're fighting on December 2nd on
Dynamite. Fuck, yeah, that is.
Yeah, it's going to be on a Dynamite.
I totally forgot that that's not a pay-per-view match, and that's just like a regular Wednesday night match.
I'd do it then.
Yeah. Do you think – I know Omega's in charge of the women's division. Do you think maybe his pursuit of storylines is affecting how the women's division is portrayed?
No, I think that match being on a Dynamite is by design. That has to be for ratings. There's a reason for that, you know. That's not just your biggest title. Tony Khan's got to be involved in that. That has to be like a ratings thing. You know, I did hear somebody say, maybe Meltzer was saying that December wasn't particularly like a stronger ratings for them last year. Creatively, it was a little tougher. If you remember, that's when the Dark Order first came out. They didn't have a lot of steam back then.
No,
going around all those punches that were missing.
That almost died a death.
Right. So I think they're trying to have a strong December, is what I understand.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the holidays are typically lower in ratings anyway. Because, like, imagine how terrible I remember last year they have the Dynamite the day before Thanksgiving, right? You know, like NXT and Dynamite were so low last year because it's the holidays. People are getting ready for turkey and whatever, cooking that night, but they're not necessarily make us turn this on. Like, make it our background noise. This, I'm tuning in to at least watch this. I'll DVR, skip all the way to this match. Like Raw this week, I was like, all right, it's Randy and Drew for the title. Do I want to watch Raw after the shit show it's been for the last month? No. Do I have to now? Yes, because I called out on RSH last week. I was like, Drew's taking the belt back. He showed up to SmackDown, confronted Roman. Randy Orton's not even said Roman's name once. There's no build. So WWE's not dumb enough to just throw Roman and Randy together with not one mention of each other. And we had it's actually a really good Raw, I thought, for the first time in like 4 months. But I want to see Kenny with the belt, and I want to see Kenny as a heel.
Agreed. Yeah, actually, funny story, too. I would say I had some stuff going on this weekend. I saw SmackDown, I think, on Sunday, and I had not seen any spoilers or anything. And I'm watching Drew show up and interrupt Roman, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, what is this? And as the show goes on, you realize, oh, Drew's going to take the belt off of Orton on Monday. And yeah, sure enough, that is how they played it. So, and Revolution is actually in February. So maybe they didn't have,
even later than I thought.
Yeah, maybe they didn't want to try to hold off on it that long too, as another possibility. But all right, guys, what do you think? Anything else we need to talk about, Joe?
I was just about to say we don't want to put our watchers here up against MLW tonight because that's about to start in 5 minutes here. So really quick, everybody give me your show of the night. I've got AEW, or no, strike that. I'm going MLW. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Dave, who do you got?
I'll go with rather than say show of the night, I'll give you a match of the night and a segment of the night. All right. I'm looking forward to MLW too because I follow that small promotion like you do, and I'm excited to see them back. So match of the night is going to be Io and Ripley. That has to be absolute fire. And segment of the night or segments, I am curious what MJF is going to be doing with the Inner Circle because, like Josh said, MJF is money. And whether you like AEW or don't, MJF is a character that is just I saw the guy in the Indies beforehand. He's awesome. He continues to be awesome. Whatever they do with that guy, he's going to make it work. So
100%. Now, Josh, thank you for joining us. You can catch him on regularly scheduled hostilities tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And let's end with you. Who do you got as the show of the night or match segment of the night?
Match of the night, it's Ripley and Io. There's really like no arguments here for Dave. NXT's the show of the night. It's every Wednesday. I mean, it's so good. Like from Leon Ruff and Johnny Gargano. Like that's even like I popped last week when he put the belt on and hit the damn stage. And like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he doesn't know how to wear a belt. Priest is like, dude, get in the car, get the hell out of here. It's just top to bottom. I enjoy the whole show. I don't skip none of it. Like it's good. The women's wrestling is fantastic. I'm invested in all their characters. Grimes, Blackheart, LeRae, Dakota Kai, Gonzalez. I mean, now Balor's back. Everybody forgets Balor's been gone with, like Dave said, he broke his jaw in 2 places. Holy shit, you get Finn Balor back? Then Undisputed Era is going to be back soon to confront McAfee. When's that going to happen? Soon, right? It's going to get better. So it's NXT for me, but I will tune in to see the Inner Circle in Vegas. I think that's what their big segment is tonight. So should be a good night.
Joe, how about a little promotion? I believe somebody's interviewing Mr. TJ Wilson coming up next week.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that broadcasting next week. We're going to be appearing at 5 p.m. because regularly scheduled hostilities is airing Wednesday night at 6 p.m. and they're going to have on TJ Wilson again. Josh, how excited are you to be interviewing him again? At this point, it's almost like sitting down with a friend, right?
It is. The first time me and Chuck were super nervous. So like the first 10 minutes we're like babbling like idiots. And like we told him after, like, yeah, he's like, no, you guys are fine. He's like, you guys chilled out. It's cool. But Survivor Series is this Sunday. So we're actually going to be breaking down the show with him. Like we're going over all the matches, which is funny because he has a hand in booking some of those. So it's really cool to get his perception of how everything went. And then for him, it's cool to get ours because we're fans and we're watching. So like, If we think something's rough, we'll just be like, hey, we think this and this was bad. And he's like, oh, that's an interesting point. And like he does more of the he's on SmackDown with the women's division, so he books a lot of that, which is why SmackDown's women's division is actually really good in my opinion. Raw's is not so much. But we're talking Survivor Series, and then that's pretty much what we're going to talk about. Then he was going to talk about some past Survivor Series he's like, just kind of stick with that theme. But pretty excited. This is the second time, and Yvonne's going to be in on this one. She's a huge fan of Natalya, so I'm hoping that she like pokes her head in. Because Yvonne would mark out for that, but should be cool. That's next week, and it's gonna be between 6 and 6:30. Obviously, we're on his time schedule, but somewhere in between there.
Nice, but we will definitely be checking that out after we're done with author Vinny Berry, who's gonna appear on our own personal YouTube. But Josh, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, sir.
And fans,
No
we will see you later. Have a good night.
Later.